The night was colder than usual. The wind howled through the empty streets as Daniel pulled his coat tighter around him, his breath visible in the crisp December air. Beside him, Max trotted along, his golden fur gleaming under the dim glow of the streetlights. Max had been Daniel's constant companion for the last 6 years. A rescue dog, found shivering in an alley as a pup, Max had grown into a strong, loyal companion. Through breakups, financial struggles, and the relentless loneliness that had followed Daniel since his parents passed, Max had never left his side. He was more than just a pet, he was family. That night, like every other, they took their usual route around the neighborhood. It was a quiet part of town, mostly small houses and closed-up shops, a place where people kept to themselves. Daniel sighed, rubbing Max's head absent-mindedly. "You know, buddy, things have been rough lately," he murmured. "But as long as I have you, I guess we'll be okay." Max wagged his tail, pressing his warm body against Daniel's leg. As they neared the small corner store, Daniel noticed something unusual. The door, usually locked by this hour, was ajar, swinging slightly in the wind. Inside, the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows across the empty shelves. A man burst through the door, his face partially covered by a ski mask. He held a gun in shaking hands, his eyes wild and unfocused. Behind him, the store clerk was on the phone, shouting something Daniel couldn't quite hear. Daniel froze. The man's gaze locked onto him. His grip on the gun tightened. "Don't move," he rasped. Daniel raised his hands slowly, his heart pounding. This wasn't happening. Not here. Not now. Max, sensing the tension, let out a low, warning growl. "Shut that dog up," the man snapped, his voice cracking with fear. Daniel swallowed hard. He could see the man wasn't thinking clearly, desperate, erratic, unpredictable. The kind of person who could do something irreversible without even realizing it. "Easy," Daniel said softly, trying to keep his voice steady. "Nobody wants trouble." But then, the gunman flinched as sirens wailed in the distance. Panic flashed across his face. His finger twitched near the trigger. Max lunged. Everything happened too fast. One moment, Max was at Daniel's side, the next, he was in midair, teeth bared, knocking into the man with all his strength. The gun went off. A deafening crack split the night. Daniel felt the bullet tear into his side, a hot flash of pain stealing his breath. He staggered but remained standing. Then he saw Max collapse. "No," Daniel gasped, dropping to his knees. The gun clattered to the pavement as the man, realizing what he had done, bolted into the darkness. The sirens grew louder, but Daniel couldn't focus on anything except the warm, unmoving body in his arms. Max's eyes found his. They were still full of love, still full of trust. His tail gave a weak, single wag. Daniel pressed his forehead against Max's, his tears mixing with the dog's fur. "Stay with me, buddy," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Please." Max let out a final breath. Then, he was still. The paramedics arrived minutes later, voices urgent, hands pressing against Daniel's bleeding side. They told him he was lucky. That the bullet had missed anything vital. That he would recover. But Daniel felt anything but lucky.